Hello, good talk, everyone. Welcome Chanukah. Obviously, that'll take somewhat of a chunk of what we're going to do. But the first point that I wanted to say is something that I repeat almost like on a yearly basis. This Indian that starts in this week's parsha and continues, actually culminates in the beginning of next week's parsha. That is Yosef. Yosef Atzadik is in jail. He passes the test with the wife of Potiphar. He's put in jail, and the two ministers of Parai, the minister of libation and the minister of I don't know, baking or what you want to call it, pastry chef, whatever. So Yosef tells the Saramashkin, the minister of libation, the one that is going to survive this, he tells him, he interprets his dream and he says, in 3 days, you're going back to serving Parai, and your high stature. So see to it, when you're there, mention me, remember me, and mention me. I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, which in on itself is a very interesting definition, because basically the land at the time was the land of the Canaanites, and Yosef doesn't use this language. He says the land of the Hebrews. Well, that's a thing all its own. But Yosef been put to jail. He's been put in jail for an unspecified amount of time. This is not like today, he is being put out, and most probably the idea is that he will end his life there. And Rashi says, that the Chumash says 2 years later, Pyro has a dream, and nobody can interpret that dream for him. And then the minister of libation remembers. At the end of this week's parsha, he says, and the minister of libation did not remember Yosef, and he forgot him twice. And so now Paroi is dreaming a dream. Various astrologers and astronomers, or whatever it is, the Egyptians had over there. So they tell him different kind of explanations of his dream. 7 cows, 7 fat cows, 7 lean cows, and the lean cows swallow the fat cows, and so forth and so on. They tell him, you're going to have 7 daughters, you're going to bury them, they're going to die, blah, blah, blah. Paro doesn't buy it. So Mr. Libation says, I mentioned my this is my mea culpa. I mentioned my sins today. Paroi, the master, was upset with me and the minister of confections, They put us in jail. And there is a boy there who was a slave to the minister of slaughter, slaughter animals, slaughter people, I'm not sure. And it says, and we both dreamt a dream at the same night. Well, the dreams that they had, each one of them dreamt his own dream, and he dreamt the interpretation of the other one. So the minister of libation tells him what his dream is, and Yosef says, these three branches of grapes that you saw are 3 days. Within 3 days, Parah is going to elevate you, bring you back to your station, and you'll serve in the way that you used to. And the Sarah Oifim, the minister of confection, saw that he interpreted well. It's not that he interpreted favorably, just interpreted well, which means he himself had a dream, and in his dream he saw the interpretation of Sarah Oifim, of Sarah Mashkin. As me also, in my dream, I have 3, wicker baskets upon my head, and there's the birds from the heaven are eating from that. And the minister of confections told Yosef that when he goes out, he's going to kill Yosef. He's going to finish him off. The Midrashim says that. I'm not exactly sure what was the background for this. Nevertheless, Yosef said, you ain't going nowhere. Within 3 days, Pharaoh is going to take you, is going to nail you to a cross. He's going to hang you, which is what happened. So, the minister of libation is telling Pharaoh, this is what happened. And they rush Yosef, they wash him, they shave him, give him new garments, he's standing for Pharaoh. So Rashi on the spot says that Sarah Mashkin did not remember Yosef and forgot him. Why does the Chumash repeat it twice? The answer is, she says that because Yosef said to the minister of libation, remember me and mention me, 2 years were added to his sentence. In other words, Mishamayim Yosef should have been in the slammer for 10 years. Being that he said to the minister of libation, remember me and mention me, which are acts of lack of bitachon. He got 2 more years. So various Gedolim explain this particular inyan in different ways. The Chazon Ish, because there is a discrepancy in the way that Rashi says it and the way that Medrash says it. Rashi takes it from the Medrash, but the Medrash puts it differently. Rashi says, being that Yosef said to the minister of libation, remember me and mention me, he got 2 years added to his sentence. For it is said, Ashrei Aish Haya Shem Miftacho. Fortunate is the person that Hashem is his trust, and and he didn't turn to the vain ones. And Rav is Mitzrayim, it's a known thing. How's the question? In the Medrash, it says differently. It uses exactly the same words, but the syntax is different. It says, Asher Aish, Asher Hashem Yiftochen. Fortunate is the person that Hashem is his bitochen, his trust. And he did not turn to the vain, which is Mitzrayim. Says Medrash, Ze Yosef. Yosef is the one. And Medrash continues that said to the Mitzri, said to the Egyptian, remember me and mention me, and he got 2 years added to his sentence. So Rashi is pretty straightforward, but the Medrash is supposedly like the first part is the opposite of the second part. The first part is like, who is a good guy, who's a jolly good fellow, who's the one that has proper bitochen is Yosef. The second part says, told the Mitzri, remember me and mention me, and he got 2 more years. So what gives? So the Chazon Ish says it very simple. It says, that the level of Yosef Atzadik, he is a person that trusts the Kadosh Baruch Hu completely. I mean, he would not sin with the wife of Potiphar, put himself in jail, and put himself in any danger. This is only because he had the trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And we will talk a little bit more about this when we read the Maaseh Baal Shem HaKadosh. And it says that being that Yosef was such a supreme amount of bitochen HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he should not have asked the Egyptian to remember him. Well, don't you know the Egyptian will do whatever is good for him? What do you expect? B'chlal the goy, but even somebody, on such a high, high stature in the royal court of Egypt, where the slightest misstep is that person, nailed to the wall. I mean, come on. This is not what this is about. So Taka did not remember him. So that's why he was punished. But the Maharil Diskin says a different explanation of this. And this is a lesson on bitochen. How a person should behave towards the midah of bitochen, with the midah of bitochen. L'maisa, the Maharil Diskin says Yosef Atzadik had total and full bitochen HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There was no problem there. That said, we have 2 verses in Tehillim. One of them saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bless you with everything that you do, from which you hear that you have to do. On the other hand, it says, throw your weight onto HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he will sustain you, which means you don't have to do anything. Just, dump your package on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you got it made. So, which way is the right way? This was the conundrum of Yosef Atzadik. Well, Yosef wasn't just put in jail. There was a trial. Sefer Yosha says there was a trial, and in the trial there was a miracle that the baby, a 1-year-old baby, that the child of Potiphar, suddenly spoke and gave testimony against his mother. And it's not just they believe the baby more than the mother. He says, look, she grabbed him when he ran out. If he would have been the one, the aggressor, she would have grabbed him on from the front. And when he tried to pull away, she was screaming and he was pulling away. So his clothing would have been torn from the front. But being that he ran away and she wanted to grab onto him and to stay, so the clothing ripped in the back, and they checked the clothing was ripped in the back. So the Maisa, the Yosef was not found guilty. Yosef was put in jail because he was an embarrassment. He was a slave, was a Hebrew slave, and he was simply an embarrassment. So he was basically swept under the carpet, put in jail. If it would be found guilty, they would have killed him, obviously. So Yosef had a conundrum of what should he do? What is a proper hishtadlus? Should he do everything that needs to be done? Everything he could do. Bring the transcripts of the trial, convince them, whatever it is. Or say nothing. Throw your trust on Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and he will carry it for you. He will do. So, which way do you go? So we have a cloud, the 13th principle through which we explain the Torah, that you have two psukim, two verses that contradict one another. Then comes a third verse and sort of like settles the which way it's going to go. So we have on one hand it says, throw your burden onto Hashem and He will sustain you, meaning you don't have to do anything. On the other hand, you have another pasuk that says, He will bless you in whatever endeavor you will do, which means you have to do. The third verse is Gol al Hashem darkecha, roll your way onto Hakadosh Baruch Hu, uftach alav, and trust Him. Hu yaseh, and He will do. But you roll, in other words, you begin. You begin the process. Start. You owe money, start giving. Maybe you owe money way beyond your capability to give back. No problem. Give back what you can. Go ahead, do something. Give. It's a joke. What can I give? I don't know. $100,000 of giving $100. Yes, do it. Whatever it is you can do, do. And in the meantime, then trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's going to be the end? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to finish it for you. In other words, you're supposed to do somewhat of an ishtadlus, but don't go crazy. So that's what Yosef did. He said he didn't bring any transcripts. You're not convincing anything. He just told them the facts the way they are. Listen, I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews. I was sold into slave. I was put here into jail, and I didn't do anything. Just mention it. That's it. Says Marin Diskin as follows. Imagine that Sar Mashkim would have remembered Yosef. He just came out of the dungeon, that's what it was. And he was together with the minister of confection, of baking, whatever, and his colleague was killed, and he was spared. It just as easily could have been the other way around. You think that he would have the gall, the chutzpah, the bravery, whatever it is, the courage to mention, by the way, Paro, in jail, there's this Jewish slave that is supposedly innocent. Wow. That would have really influenced Paro, right? On one side, you have the minister of slaughter. Either he is the head of all the, the cattle slaughtering, whatever it is, writing meat for entire Egypt, I don't know. Or else he's the head of the Egyptian KGB. Obviously a very powerful person. On the other side, you have a young Hebrew slave. You expect Paro to side with the slave and make an enemy of the minister of slaughter? Not very likely. But you know something? Let's say that the minister of libation would have said something, and that Paro would have said, you know something, I think it's about time to lower, the minister of slaughter. I think that he's become too big for his britches. I mean, it's like he thinks too much of himself. It's time to bring him down a peg, and would have found out. And he would free Yosef. Says Mario Diskin, Yosef, maybe he would have been free, but he would have never ever become the ruler of Egypt for two reasons. First of all, it was not the time wasn't yet. We have a cloud that one authority does not overlap another authority, even a hairbreadth. Paro is supposed to be the sole ruler of Egypt for 2 more years. Yosef cannot become a king at that point in time. No way. The second reason is that Yosef would have gotten the stamp of a welfare case. Somebody that from our generosity who did him a favor and sprung him out of jail. Okay? Yosef would have gone out, around in Mitzrayim, and people would see him, these the Egyptians or the Arabs, whatever it is, with their beads, whatever. And so you see this guy. I know the real story of what happened at Potiphar's house. The guy says, nah, you know nothing. He says, yeah, I know. I got a sister whose cousin is working as a washerwoman in Potiphar's, whatever it is, and I heard from you. Understand what would have been there? It would have been, a laughing stock for everyone. One thing for sure, that when Paro would have dreamt a dream, and somebody says, by the way, do you know who is really good interpreting dreams? Remember that boy that we took out of jail, the story, did he, didn't he, whatever it is, who's it for, whatever it is. He's pretty good at, you have all the scientists of Mitzrayim, blowing smoke, explaining what, in fake explanations of interpretations of what the dream of Paro was. They're going to take, this guy, who, as far as they're concerned, they just didn't have favor that he's alive at all, that is his entire stature of what he is and who he is cast in shadow. He would never become king of Mitzrayim. So Yosef did exactly the right thing. He started by doing the shtadlus that he needed to do, and that's it, no more. What happened was that for 2 years, it looked like he didn't do anything. 2 years later, he's coming out. The pasuk, the third verse that actually decides which way it should be, says, roll your way onto Hashem and trust him, and he will do. What is the trust in doing in the middle? If you're saying roll your way onto Hashem and he will do, it's obviously, the fact that you're trusting him is obvious, isn't it? So why do we need these words, and trust him and he will do? The answer is because between when you're starting to roll, you're starting your effort, and when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing what you wanted, there's going to come a period where it's going to look as if you didn't do anything, didn't accomplish anything. In fact, it becomes the opposite, become total darkness. Yosef remains in jail, you don't see nothing. But at the right time, Paro is going to need Yosef. And when Paro needs Yosef, the question of what happened, if should have happened, if if anything at all happened in the house of Potiphar, was not a part of the equation at all. That was not a question. The only thing that was brought in, the only consideration was there is somebody in jail that we know 100% is good at interpreting dreams. Now Yosef comes. There's no shadow upon him of whatever it is that happened or didn't happen with the wife of Potiphar. He listens to the dreams of Parai, and he corrects Parai. As Parai is telling him the dreams, says, "No, you didn't dream like that. You dreamed like that." Those Parai says, "Like what? He was behind me. Was when I was dreaming it." And Yosef becomes the king of Mitzrayim. That is a number one lesson in Bitochen. This is how you behave with Bitochen. You have to do something. Don't judge what your chances are. If your quest is a good quest, and it's a proper quest, and it's what Taka should be, it's B'Kedusha, that's the way you look, just start the ball rolling. Well, I'll never do it. What do you want me to know the entire Shas? I'm ADD. I can't spend 5 minutes understanding what is going on. Doesn't matter. You start the ball rolling, trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It will be that he will do it. So let us go to the story of Baal Shem HaKadosh this week. And it was Motzei Yom Kippur, the Baal Shem Tov and his Talmidim going out to bench the Levana, Birkas Levana. And however, the Levana was covered in Chutzars. It was not, many times it was like that. It's already the 10th day, until 14 days. They waited, the moon would not be revealed. It says it's a Sfar Makdashim that the Levana being covered during Yom Kippur is not a good sign. Baal Shem Tov came into his room, and he davened and he cried over there. Asked Kadosh Baruch Hu they should be zeicha to bench the Levana. After a long time, he comes out, take a look in the sky, nothing doing. Again, he went back, he made his Beiradus, and his Talmidim were outside at the time. He said, we're not going to fall into despair. Let's start singing and thanking Kadosh Baruch Hu for all the good stuff that all the favors they did to us, all the time, all the Toivos on the Chasadim. The Baal Shem Tov heard, he was in his room, and he heard the voices of singing, and and he says, Baal Shem Tov comes out and says, check out to see the Levana, and sure enough, they came out, they saw the Levana totally clear. They knew, just moments before the skies were covered with clouds. So immediately they said Sichos Haran, and then they danced. Shanto said, if I would have stayed in my room for another week, the Levana wouldn't have come out. But because of your simcha, the Kodesh Baruch Hu changed the weather forecast. And the Levana was revealed, because nothing can stand before the simcha of Jewish people. Itaka says that the thing that made it possible for Yosef to be successful in the house of Potiphar and successful in the house in jail, he was put in charge of everything, was because Yosef was all the time besimcha. All his days was completely besimcha. Baruch Hu knows what he's doing. It's especially important at this point in time, as we're going through whatever we're going through, the war, and the thing is, everything is okay, and everything's going to be okay. We have to keep ourselves besimcha. Am Yisrael is together, and keep Am Yisrael b'simcha. When Am Yisrael is b'simcha, everything is possible. So, and by the way, that's the hardest job, hardest task in the life of a Jew is to be b'simcha. Because like, how do you expect me to be b'simcha? I mean, come on, man, this is ridiculous. And so forth and so on. No, be b'simcha. Remind yourself of the good stuff that you did. The fact that Baruch Hashem Yishem Torah mitzvahs, Yishem Shabbos, it's kosher. Because that's the name of the game. If a person will make billions in this world, so what? He's not going to take it with him. But all those things that you did, all the Shabbosim, all the kosher, all the Yom Tovim, all the Dalat Minim, all the light, the Hanukkah candles that you lit, and whenever it is that you feel that it's not possible for you to be b'simcha, start by thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hanukkah is the time of thanks, of halal v'ideh. When you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu in any situation, no matter what it is, if it's easy, if it's bitter, if it's whatever it is, whenever it is that you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you change the modality in the sense that it's very easy for a person to enmesh himself with the way he feels in his situation and draw conclusions that, I feel pain and I am one big lump of pain and one big lump of anger, whatever it is, and therefore there's no more important quest than to stop feeling pain or to stop feeling anger. So a person would either, I don't know, use drugs or drink alcohol or whatever it is that would do in order to assuage his pain. This is when a person thanks HaKadosh Baruch Hu for this. First of all, he creates a separation between him and the experience that he's going through. I am somebody who is going through something that feels A, B, C. So in other words, the pain is objective, but the suffering is optional. When you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, first of all, it lessens the urgency of relief. Baruch Hashem, not Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you relief. And that enables a person to be b'simcha. Baruch Hashem, look at all the good stuff that I did. All the gifts that Hashem gave me, and He's still giving me. Baruch Hashem, Gevaldi Gazach. Be b'simcha. When my time will come, I will get whatever it is I need to get. And this is the key that opens, as we learn now, it opens up all the keys of heaven, even more, as it were, than the tefillah of the Baal Shem. So, without further ado, let us take a quick look at Sichos Haran for tonight. This is not what I was looking for. Just 1 second. This is not a document. Let's try it again. Hold on. This is the one. All right. This is Sicha 2:18. This is Reshut Ches. Rabbeinu made great fun from the scientists that said that there are extraterrestrials, that in the Levana there is, there's like settlements like there are in the earth. And you can sort of, at that time, they're talking about that time, you can see trees and whatever it is. Like I said, it's nonsense. This is the Levona is like it's like a mirror that shows whatever is standing before him. Everything that they see in the Levona, that's actually they're seeing things that exist on the earth. But in truth, there's nothing there. Nothing exists in the Levona from all these things, and whatever they're saying is one big ball of shtuyat. This is a very important nakuda, especially during our point in time. People are listening to what people are saying about the situation. Who is at fault? What's going to be? What do we need to do? And so on and so on. Don't listen to them. You know that they know nothing. They know that they know nothing. They're just making the stuff up. And we spoke about it a few times, but it's worth mentioning again and again and again. The only reason why they know everything they know, who is at fault, he knows what we need to do, what should have been done, what was not done, and what about this and what about that, is because people are feeling helpless and powerless and trying to find some kind of a stand, where, okay, if I know who is at fault and I know what needs to be done, there's a semblance of security. Like I'm not totally out of my element. It's nonsense. People believe in what they want to believe in. What this war was a thunder. And the Gemara says the thunders were created in order to straighten out the crookedness of the heart. The meaning of it is we all have a point of view. And the thing is, we didn't make up this point of view. We've adopted this point of view, which is shared by the particular group of people that we think that they're cool. So if it's cool to be a leftist because you are like really like, well, you're very much like the really cutting edge, avant-garde of the Goyish society. So you take these opinions. And if, however, you think that the thing to do is the other way, so you go the other way around. But these are all assumed opinions. Now, once a person has an opinion, doesn't matter which side it is, anything that's going to happen is going to be for you a proof that you were right all along. You always said that person is disaster waiting to happen. You see, it's a proof. And the other says, no, you see, you went against him, and therefore you caused the Arabs to realize that we are divided, and then they started. So it's all your fault. Whatever happens is a proof to whatever position I was holding at all time. A thunder for a short time creates something called pattern interrupt. Your pattern has been interrupted, and for a very short period of time, you are out there, you are open to suggestion, almost like hypnotic. The first one is going to tell you what the story is, what the real story is. That's the one you're going to buy. We got hit. It took us out of our shtuyot. It took us out of our preconceived notions, ideas, convictions, whatever it is. Telling you really, we know nothing. The first one that fills up whether theory, whether this, whether that's the one who's going to gain traction. But Baruch Hashem, the first thing that was gained traction after that kick in the pants that we got was that Am Yisrael Chai, we are all one, and there is nowhere to go. They hate us everywhere. The world is an equal opportunity hater. The world is anti-Semitic, no matter what. That was the first impression that everybody got on the spot. B'ezrat Hashem, everything is going to be okay. Because that was the main lesson that we taught. That's the first thing we saw when the thunder hit. We're no longer going along, along the patterns of our heart. Now we know that we are one, in Am Yisrael Chai, and B'ezrat Hashem, everything is going to be the way it's supposed to be. So, with that, B'ezrat Hashem, I hope that we're all going to have, first of all, a happy Hanukkah, right? And soon we're going to have Rosh Chodesh, a fantastic Chodesh, and we should have source to this in the Shuas from the Chomas B'ezrat Hashem. Great week, great month, and great life. And a Shavua Tov to everyone. Kol Tov and be Matzliach B'ezrat Hashem.